Right. Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning. Perhaps maybe we can invite our panel to the stage, and I'll introduce each one
Yes,
of
sure.
them.
So can we have our panel's speakers to join us?
Yeah, so first I'll be welcoming Dato Nizar, will be one of our panelists, Associate Professor Dr. Aris, and also Encik Johan Mohamad.
I think Mr. Johan's still at break. Let me give him.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So I guess while we are waiting for Encik Johan to come to the stage, I guess I'll just start first. So Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning to honorable guests, distinguished panels, and also ladies and gentlemen here. My name is Athirah Mohamad. I am the Executive for Advocacy and Operations at Institute for Research and Development of Policy, IRDP. Yes, selamat datang Encik Johan. All right. Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us this Thursday and Tuesday morning for our forum discussion, Navigating Economic Growth, Advancing Hemp Research Within Malaysia's Regulatory Framework. So this morning, we have already listened to 2 sessions with the experts on medical cannabis and also gotten a better understanding of the use of cannabis and hemp in our neighboring country, Thailand, which just took a policy reform by decriminalizing it in mid-2022. So this program, actually Industrial Hemp Forum 2023, is actually part of the effort to advocate the industrial hemp sector as sustainable materials and resource in Malaysia. And by having this forum discussion, actually, we will highlight 2 things. I mean, we don't want to make it a heavy discussion. So the first one is what actually hemp and what is its relevance and also potentials that hemp have for Malaysia. And the last one is the current challenges perhaps will be faced to utilize this crop within Malaysia's landscape. So for this session, we will have 2 rounds of questions, 2 rounds of discussion, and the last one will be the Q&A session, which will be open to all the audience here. Yeah. So together here with us to discuss why Malaysia should explore industrial hemp and basically to address the misconception or perhaps the allegation of many who often associate hemp with cannabis. So we have distinguished panels who will enlighten us further in this subject matter that we want to talk about today. First, we have Encik Johan Mohamad, the founder and also president of Malaysia's Hemtech Industrial Research Association, or also known as the MHIRA, our main organizer for today. He has been at the forefront of the cannabis legalization movement in Malaysia since 2013. In fact, his expertise is not limited to only cannabis legalization, but also waste management and sustainability. And in fact, his dedication and commitment have led him to be recognized as Green Productivity Champion by the Malaysian Productivity Corporation, MPC. Early this year, he was also invited to share more of his expertise and also his insights in a workshop organized by United Nations Conference on Trade and Development on Industrial Hemp. And this, I bet we will hear more of his experience dealing with the international organization in a bit. So second, we have Associate Professor Dr. Mohamad Aris Moklas, the Senior Lecturer from University Putra, Malaysia, with extensive background research in biomedical sciences and also neuroscience. His recent work on the therapeutic potential of cannabis in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease will further enrich our discussion for today. And perhaps maybe we can get a better overview or idea better idea on the R&D for industrial hemp and the challenges perhaps he might face in advancing the research within Malaysia's regulatory framework. And the third panel here, we have the middle one, Dato Wan Muhammad Nizar Wan Fauzi, the chairman of Hemplab, an organization with a vision to become the leading trusted consultant and also producer of hemp in Malaysia and ASEAN by 2035. With his ample experience in the legal framework, inshallah, we can have a better idea of the regulatory landscape surrounding hemp cultivation and its impact on the economic development of one country. So without further ado, I guess I'll just start with the first question for Encik Johan. Yeah, so for more than 10 years in industrial hemp and cannabis legalization movement, right? So with your experience and expertise in this area, can you share with us how actually Malaysia can benefit from the hemp industry, especially when we are talking about our main topic today in the context of economy? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moderator, Assalamualaikum. The question, how Malaysia, I think first before I learned about hemp, I involved a lot with the waste management. Meaning besides initiating the white beans in Klang Valley, if you can see the textile, that was our first project before I was with MHIRA. So we managed to develop a database of the third highest recycling items in Malaysia. So then I'm involved with the World Cleanup. So that's where I noticed I've been talking to myself that we want to find a solution that is resilient, not sustainable. So we promote linking industrial hemp and SDG back in 2016 March when we were established. The first aim was to introduce industrial as a solution for Malaysia, looking at issues such as toxic material, especially we're talking about the excess of our products is all uncertain. We're not sure where is it coming from. And of course, after learning personally in 2017 and 18, when I treat my own late son with cancer, so that's where I learned about the benefit of cannabis oil. So of course, Malaysia will benefit through our session today. We have the Deputy Director of DITAM to learn how we can not just looking at the modern medicine, there is other ways of us to introduce. I think as for MHIRA, our focus will be very much on the food security and the advanced material using hemp. So that will be our two main area that Malaysia can benefit from. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, following what Encik Johan mentioned, right, as in like the hemp or cannabis can actually help in the modern and also traditional, can act as a traditional medicine or modern medicine that we can further benefit in. So, following what Encik Johan mentioned just now, I believe the research and development sector plays a vital role to extract the benefits of hemp. So, Dr. Aris, based on your research on biomedical sciences and also neuroscience, you explore the usage of cannabis and also hemp as a potential remedy for Alzheimer's and also Parkinson's disease. Can you tell us more about the research and perhaps maybe is there any challenges you might have faced or encountered when in completing the research? Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Athirah. Assalamualaikum and very good morning. Perhaps I should start with sharing my past experience, how I started with cannabis research base. It all started when I did my PhD in UK. At that time, I'm using THC as one of the drug used in research. So when I did my PhD at that time, we are looking on the certain protein that really important in how to activate the nerve cells, right? Then once I graduated, then I joined UPM. Then I continued my project. So at that time, we are still using a normal animal model where we found out that somehow, for unknown reason, by treating normal animal with THC, it increased the number of neurons. So technically, THC induced the new nerve cells. So it's very interesting at that time. Of course, because generally as a scientist, we always believe that the neuron cannot duplicate. That's the general understandings. So when we found that somehow THC able to induce new neuron, then of course it is very beneficial for disease, especially for disease such as Parkinson and also Alzheimer. Subsequently, we developed Alzheimer-like animal model in UPM, and we managed to develop that, and we published our findings. And this animal, they mimicking Alzheimer-like symptom. Right? There are a few symptoms for Alzheimer's, right? So at that time, we are concentrating on a few compounds. One compound from Central Asiatica or Pegaga. The other two will be from Cannabis, which is THC and also CBD. So interestingly, somehow, through a specific pathway, this THC and also CBD managed to reverse symptoms like Alzheimer's in animal model. So that's a very interesting, because a similar study has been conducted in other countries, in other universities. And as for now, I can conclude that on animal study, when we develop a Alzheimer-like animal model, so when we treat them with cannabis, or we call it agonist, somehow it will restore it into normal structures, normal functions of the animal. So now what is the way forward? Of course, when in any research, when you conduct on animal study, the next step will be clinical trial. All right. And then, yes, we really embark on that. At the moment, we are still in the process of getting fund, because in order to conduct clinical trial will be not only fun, but there are a few things that you need to fulfill actually. I really like when you asking about the challenges just now. Yes, there's a challenges when you dealing with compound that something to do in Malaysia, right? When you talk with other people saying that I'm doing cannabis, or in Malay we call it ganja, they always keep asking, why ganja? Why ganja? Ganja is najis. It's always something like a stigma in our thought that you cannot deal with ganja because they are najis. That's things that we've been learned that since a very young age, right? It's always najis ganja. I mean, that kind of things, I would say it's a misconceptions. Because I do believe that as a Muslim, any plant that having a medical property should be utilized, should be used, right? So that's why we embark on this research, even though there's the challenges and also difficulties. One of the challenges is that, yes, it is possible to import THC and CBD for research purposes. Yes, it is possible. It's just that the process is too long. Right? And then in 2007, I still remember when I started applying for buy this THC product, it took me almost 9 months for clearance. Whereas in UK, it took me for a few weeks to get the drugs. That was, I would say, more than 10 years ago. Right? So that's how you import the active compound. But at the same time, the stigma among the populations is always having on the negative perceptions when we talk about the ganja. I think, of course, education is very important to really educate people. Any substance from the plant with medical properties, of course, is something that we need to explore. All right. Yeah, that's my comment.
Yeah, thank you for enlightening us on your. It sounds exciting, as in you're focusing on the research of, despite the topic is quite taboo, as in like especially when we are talking about in the context of Malaysia. So okay, to Dato Aris. So the current Malaysia's regulatory framework somehow restricts, there's no black and white on the full utilization of hemp. I think as the chairman of Hemplab, with the legal background, in your opinion, Dato, what are the challenges and opportunities encountered if one wants to dive into the industrial hemp and also research?
Thank you very much, Puan. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and very good morning to everybody. Please excuse my voice, sore throat malam. Okay, to begin with, it's very interesting. Yes, legal framework is one, right? But mental framework is one. That's another story altogether. It's interesting that Prof. Aris has mentioned this now. That in our nation's fight against Dada, right? We employ the term najis Dada, right? It's not wrong. It is. It is. If it's abused, yes, it is najis Dada. But again, it's only later part that we do realize there are certain compounds, medicinal compounds in marijuana per se, because najis Dada applies to ice, shabu, a lot of artificial things, cocaine, right? Correct. But in the Malaysian context, the most used so-called najis Dada has always been ganja among Malay youngsters, especially Malay youngsters, right? So najis Dada ni terus ganja, right? All lupa tu shabu, cocaine, and all the rest, all artificial drugs. So dengan sendirinya, right? By naturally, ganja fell into najis Dada. All right. Now, when we, the medical society, NGOs, right, we realize there is a certain medicinal compound in ganja only, and not in shabu, not in cocaine, not in ice, right? Only in ganja, the natural plant, not the abuse form of it, all right? The natural plant. So there comes the need to reclassify that this is not najis. There's medicine in it. So the taboo has been going on for decades. Nak cuci yang ni memang, na'udzubillah, memang susah lah. Susah. So now, thank you to the hard work of people like Encik Johan and MHIRA. I think we have come a long way, very, very long way. Macam Prof. Aris cakap just now, just 10 years ago, he couldn't even get anything in, even for research. Research pun tak boleh, and the rest is goes without saying lah. So at least today we have come far enough, all right? Not as far as we hope for, all right? And not as far as we would like, like Thailand or even UK for that matter. But at least we are getting there, all right? When we speak to KKM, MHIRA, they do respond. Let us give them the benefit of the doubt. They deserve a clap, all right? They have finally shown interest, acknowledge the compounds, all right? Certain compounds in the cannabis properties has been acknowledged as having medicinal properties and not having any psychoactive effects, such as namely CBD, all right? So that compound has been registered, right? So it's no longer an unknown compound as far as our legal framework is concerned. It is already an acknowledged compound, right? So, but of course, acknowledgement and actually allowing for execution is another long way to go, right? It is, we depend on the hard work and efforts of organizations like MHIRA to pursue it further, all right? But of course, I as wanting to be pioneer industry participant, all right? Of course, I have to work hand in glove with MHIRA, with organizations like Prof. Aris, all right? Once this is all legalized, obviously we cannot rely on clinical trials from God knows where, all right? Of course, we have our our own experts to do our clinical trials. All right. So I think from my personal view and my professional view, we are on the right track. All right. We are on the right track. We are heading there. We are getting there. And hopefully with the untiring efforts of people like MHIRA, Mr. Johan, Prof. Aris, we will get there, not just get there in the right direction. You see, when you legalize things, right, especially things that could be abused, subject to abuse, all right, we have to be very careful. We don't want to go spiraling into things that we cannot control. That's why I do appreciate the time and effort of our government bodies and agencies scrutinizing all proposals from all parties very, very carefully, because we have a lot of examples around the world, right? Being the later ones in the world about to legalize this, we have the advantage of learning from other countries who have done it and failed, who has done it and succeed. That's what we need to learn, all right? Personally, all right, I have extensive information on how the UK system is done. All right. I think, if I may suggest that the Malaysian authorities look into that. What UK has done, UK is one of the last countries in Europe to legalize this. What they have done, they have taken all formats and framework from what their friends in Europe has done. Germany, Poland, Switzerland, you name it. Almost every country in Europe has legalized this. Everybody have their own kind of framework. And UK being the last one to legalize, they have taken all the good parts of the successful story. And what's the result? UK today is one of the largest exporter of CBD oil in the world. And they are not the largest cultivator. We need to learn from that. Betul tak, Encik? If I'm mistaken, in Europe, Poland is the largest cultivator, right?
Romania and I think like Netherlands, of course.
You see, UK does not cultivate. Poland, Netherlands, Romania, all right? UK import flowers, cannabis flowers, but they process. They process and manufacture finished products, and now they are the largest exporter in the world. So their framework is very, very airtight. That's one thing that we could actually look at. They have a specific number of manufacturers they allow license. They have specific number of distributors allowed license. So these are things that I'm sure Malaysian authorities are looking at. I'm sure they are. All right. So just to inform everybody in this room today that we jangan putus harapan. All right. The Malaysian government bukanlah tak tengok langsung, tengok. Right? They are looking at it, and let's be fair to them. Give them ample time to look into all the contoh-contoh framework yang ada around us, from Thailand maybe Thailand a bit, not for us maybe. I think the UK framework is better for us, inshallah. Right. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Dato Aris, for explaining. As in, like, giving one of the ways on how we can advance further by looking at what other countries has done, right? So when Dato Aris mentioned about the UK has become major exporter of hemp in general, actually the industry is growing. It's growing rapidly, as in like, and expected to grow to 26.6 billion USD by 2025 from 4.6 billion USD in 2020. I got this from UN, by the way. All right, okay. So I would like to dig more on the potential and also challenges revolving hemp industry in Malaysia. So we know the climate change has and will continue to give a significant impact to the daily life of not only Malaysians we are talking about, but also the life of billions worldwide in the world. So from your experience, right, Encik Johan, what are the biggest sustainable benefit that we can obtain from utilizing the hemp value chain? I mean, that will help in addressing the issues, the rise of concern of climate change now.
Hello. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the question. I think in terms of Malaysian landscape, if we're talking about sustainability, of course, this is the right time to very more micro into the circular economy. Of course, we are very well aware what is going on with the industry globally or regionally. There's a lot of excess of flowers, for example, even in the UK, even in Thailand. So when I mention about circular economy, it's important now to develop a more responsible business for the future. So hemp, of course, with the versatility of the plant, with the able to grow 3 times per year, and as the association, yeah, I agree what Dato mentioned about the UK becoming the biggest and largest, but promoting hemp or promoting the cannabinoids is about developing the future species for each individual, because this is the secret of cannabinoids, which is actually a solution for each individual differently. Someone from the UK should have a different species of cannabinoids compared to someone in Malaysia with our climate. So overall, besides circular economy, now we are talking about, I advocate zero waste since 2012. Okay, we did with CIMB Foundation, more than 200 schools. I do a lot of talks related to sustainable development goals and of course zero waste. So this particular plant we're talking about, hemp, with a 2 months crop for animal feed, of maximum 4 months for the whole harvest period, can develop from a 2 months business downstream to a 3 months fiber, up to 4 months to identify the whole circular economy. Without cultivating, we can still practice circular economy, and of course zero waste. How can, you know, the flower, like what you can practice, they, after you actually extract the oil, they use that a lot for biomass. So these are opportunities. I don't need to go very deep into what are the vast, according to 2014 BBC report, industrial hemp produces more than 40,000 products downstream. So you can mention anything, in fact, anything which we are sitting in front of us can actually made of hemp. Anything plastic based can also made of hemp. So there's a vast, of course, MHIRA. We promote linking industrial hemp and SDG, and we do have our list of arguments or inputs into what we meant by linking industrial hemp and sustainable development goals. And I encourage everyone to do more studies into what are the sustainable benefits that the public can get from it. And of course, we want to, I mean, based on your question, we can actually practice a circular economy, and zero waste is the way forward for this industry. Thank you.
Yeah, so we can see from the points that from Encik Johan mentioned just now is that hemp is a sustainable plant-based with a smaller impact to the ground. That's how it can actually address the zero waste and also can benefit on the circular economy of Malaysia. So as for Dato Nizar, as he mentioned just now, I mean, we can learn from other countries, right? From an organization who aims to become the leading trusted consultant and also producer of hemp in ASEAN by 2025, can you elaborate more on what are the key actions actually needed to be done, especially in terms of policy and also regulation in Malaysia? I mean, to allow better exploration and exploitation of hemp plant.
Okay, thank you very much. Very, very, very. That's a very broad question. Right? Okay, let us start with the fact that all of us are here first and foremost when we realize there are medicinal properties in the plant, right? And now we realize from the good efforts of MHIRA, right? The plant is just not for medicine. Apparently, it's for everything else as well. I've been told by Encik Johan that even they can even produce fiber, what do you call this? Fabric out of hemp, right? So electricity, which to me, wow, all right. But again, if we look at the very broad perspective of the hemp plant, then we might lose focus on how to move forward. All right. If you ask me personally, all right, forgive me if anybody does not agree with me, I would rather stress on the most important element that has brought about the acknowledgement of this plant, which is the medicinal properties first. This will be, we need to emphasize on this so that with this emphasis, authorities need to take action because lives are wasted for as long as we keep this away from the public, all right, for medicinal purposes. Life is wasted. I am saying this because I had my own personal experience. My own nephew, stage 4 cancer. He was sent back home, zero hope, waiting on deathbed. He couldn't move a limb. The cancer was spreading all over his body. He was only 21. And then his father, by some miracle, got hold a bit of the minyak ganja that time. Within 3 months, the boy was from bedridden, cannot even move a limb, sakit. Within 3 months, he was sitting down, makan sendiri. He was feeding himself. Until the guy who actually supplied kena tangkap. Alright? And then the story and the rest is history. A few months later, he passed away. Sebab couldn't follow through. So that was one of the incident in my life that I see. I'm from legal background. I'm not into this. But when you see in front of your eyes how this benefit, right? Before this, I used to be one of those skeptics, to be frank. Tak ada benda lain ke nak jadi ubat? I'm one of the skeptics, to be frank. Tak ada benda lain ke nak jadi ubat? But when you see in front of your eyes the miracle, right? And you said then something triggers in me. But there's something in here. There's really something here. So that led me to jumpa orang macam Cik Johan, who educated me a lot on what hemp is, right? And then I have made it my personal mission to, once it's legalized, right? I'm following very closely what the government is doing, which I think they are in the right direction. They are bukan tak buat, they just being careful. They don't want to move in the wrong direction. To me, that is a very responsible move. But they are moving nonetheless, right? So once the gate are open, I want to be the first one to bring the matter in. Quality ones, because after being involved in the industry for quite a bit, I realized there's a lot of inferior products out there. A lot. As you mentioned, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. When it becomes a multi-billion-dollar industry, barang fake mesti ada. Alright? Fakers are as everywhere. So then the first stage of education is the usage of it. The second stage of education is to make sure what comes into our country, only the best and purest quality products, not some don't know what. Because if you actually look into a bottle of CBD oil, you tuang atas a petri dish, naked ice, and you tuang minyak zaitun, nampak sama bang. So you kena careful benda ni. Alright. If somebody comes selling you CBD oil, 200 ringgit a bottle, then you can forget it. You know how expensive it is to produce. So again, from the legal framework in Malaysia, I think the struggle to bring in products is almost there. All right, but the struggle yang Cik Johan cakap tu, for the rest of the usage, I think that's a long way. That's a long way to go, and we owe a lot of thanks to MHIRA. It's an uphill battle lah, because I do agree and I do understand when the authorities are a bit reserved when it comes to cultivation. Kalau you're talking about import of finished CBDs, we can check it at customs, and the framework kita boleh masuk dalam akta custom and masukkan jadual. Okay, apa compound ni boleh, compound ni tak boleh, compound ni tak boleh. Okay, easy. But come to cultivation, different. Cultivation, then there will be 1001 things authorities will ask. How secure is your area? Kalau orang kampung mari potong, masuk panjat pagar, potong 10 pokok, pergi buat stone macam mana? That will be the challenges lah. And also menambah kerja authorities. Tu yang kesian jugalah, dia pun bukan ramai sangat anggota kan. Yes, there have people. Somebody told me that hemp is a different form of cannabis. It's a different species lain kan. So it's very low THC, right? Very very low THC. But again, if I were to be the authorities, my question would be, low is not zero. So low is not zero. So kalau low THC pun, kalau buah banyak lah THC-nya. Betul. So this, which will kalau tak properly regulated, open to abuse juga lah. So that will be the main argument of any any regulatory body, especially enforcement lah. So because kalau kita talking about 1,000 ekar ladang hemp, high CBD, low THC. Tapi kalau 1,000 ekar hemp, air potong 100 ekar dapat banyak juga THC tu. Campur-campur. And so these are the things that probably MHIRA will address, all right? Inshallah, with authorities. But as far as immediate usage for the public, yang the finished product for medicinal, I think we are not far off. I think we are not far off. The government is very receptive. I'm sure Prof Aris is aware of it, right? Kalau tidak dulu tak nak research pun tak boleh kan? Sekarang dah boleh research lah. At least dah boleh research. Kalau dulu profesor macam ni yang pandai-pandai ni, dia pun tak bagi research pun. Kesian dia orang. Sekarang now at least they are allowed to do research. So I mean, we are moving. Slow but moving. Alhamdulillah, insyaAllah. Okay.
Yeah. So from the sharing of my experience from Dato Nizar and also Encik Johan, who has personal experience when we are talking about CBD, cannabis or hemp. I mean, from Dato Nizar, it's with his nephew, and Encik Johan with his son. So I guess we can see that yes, it requires a delicate actions lah. It's not just like satu actions for all pukul rata punya policy and whatnot. So we can see the urgency of hemp also cannabis when we are talking about in a medicine part. So when we're looking at the bigger context and in like worldwide, we can see Australia, Uganda, New Zealand, and as what Encik Johan mentioned just now, Peru, and in fact, our neighboring country, Thailand, are among those countries who already have undertaken necessary measures to reform and also to promote the industrial hemp sector. So in the context of research and development, R&D, right, Dr. Aris, which are the key priorities of hemp industry? I mean, from your research, you are doing more of clinical trial and everything. What do you see? Because we know that hemp can produce lots of substitutes to clothing, oil and gas, biomass, as Johan mentioned. So what are the key priorities that Malaysia should start with apart from medicine?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Athirah. Perhaps I would like to put in the perspective how much it cost me when I ran an experiment using THC and also CBD. When we bought about a few grams of THC, it cost us almost 30K to 40,000 ringgit only for few grams. It's a high grade THC, it's a research grade THC, almost 99.9%. For THC, it's extremely expensive. But CBD, even though it's a lower price, it costs us about, for a few grams, about 5,000 ringgit, right? And can you imagine for a research grant for 100K, then half of it for drugs, right? So that's the problem that I face in the UPM. So perhaps as a researcher in UPM and also in other universities, what we really like from the government is that because if you want to be in developed nation, of course the R&D also should be well developed, right? So it must be there's a proper framework how to what I call it to strengthening or to stimulate researcher to embark on this area. Not many researchers do research on cannabis in Malaysia. Only in UPM, and there are other universities with small scale research, right? So this cannabis, as I'm sure we know, this is a big things out there, right? But somehow in Malaysia it's a little bit limited. The only reason is that we lack of research fund, right? So of course, in order to kickstart your research, you need fund definitely. Yes, you can have a very good idea, but if there's no money, things won't run definitely, right? So what I did last time that we managed to secure a research grant from FIGS and then a few other agencies, simply because we are using an active compound targeting specific on the we call it a receptor in our body. The reason why the name is cannabis simply because in our body there's a cannabinoid system, right? That's why any compound that act on this receptor we call it a cannabinoid. So that's the one of the issues that perhaps the government can open more space for research in cannabis, then can attract more researchers. Because I have to be honest with you, in Malaysia, there are many universities, they have their expertise, the facilities out there. For example, in UPM, we do have, there is a chemist, pharmacologist, botanist. So what will happen in UPM now, at UPM levels, the UPM agreed to set up, we call this a cannabis research group in UPM, right? And in fact, as for now, there are a few, we call this a research still on running. However, we need to import the compound, which is very expensive. That's why we come out with a proposal, we submitted to the relevant government agency to allow us to cultivate. Since we have UPM is a university, is a faculty pertanian, University pertanian. So we have expertise on agriculture, and then we have chemists, and then the resources are there, the human power, and then the infrastructure is there. So technically, what we need now is clearance from the government. Yes, we submitted our proposal to the government to allow UPM to cultivate, to process, and to use it for R&D purposes. That's what we did in UPM. That's one of the reasons that to overcome the issues of it's very for the high price of active compound. And I'm also suggesting for other universities like UCAM, USM, because they have their own expertise as well, to really come out with their own proposal to be part of the research team in Malaysia that can we work together. Right? Because there are many things that we can concentrate on. For example, I'm concentrating on the Alzheimer's disease. There are other diseases like Parkinson's, and from the reading I saw, there's a lot of medical condition, especially the chronic pain management. So I think it's that area that can we expand on. But of course, we need more players to work on this research using cannabis-based product.
All right, yeah. So, okay, we've come to the last round, I would say. So before we move, yes, please, Dato Nizar.
Hello. Okay.
Yes,
If I may add, okay. Thank you, Prof. Aris, for bringing that up. I totally agree. Cannabis research is expensive. It is very, very expensive. It's also unfair to put the burden on our researchers. Dia dah kena buat research, dah belajar pandai, penat dah buat PhD tu. Okay? I habis first degree je bang, master tak larat nak buat. Paper ni pandai. Dah jadi pandai nak kena cari duit pula. Which is to me, it's a bit taxing lah. True. I think all their efforts and mental stamina should be reserved for research, not for fundraising, right? Hence, it should be like people like us should come and work with a UPM, which I think we will, right? To fund his research, at least, to the very least, bagi product free, yeah. It may not be in cash form, but at least I can give free products for your trials. Kan? You nak THC banyak mana, you nak CBD banyak mana. Kan? That is totally arrangeable. Totally arrangeable, inshallah. Okay.
Oh, okay. It's nice to hear. So, I mean, for some reason, this forum has opened another opportunity lah, collaboration between Hemplab, Dato Nizar, and also Dr. Aris. So, from what Dr. Aris and Dato Nizar shared just now, we can see it is not this the method, the subject matter of hemp industry is not just one. You shouldn't look at one perspective. It is a multifaceted perspective that we can take a look on, and there's more of the potentials and also benefits of it instead of we just focusing on the downside of it. Right. So before we move to the Q&A session, I would like to open this question to all our panelists lah. Usually I allocate the last round. It will be it is for creativity and imagination lah. It can be anything. There is no right or wrong. Right. So if you were given a platform to do anything lah beyond the legal and everything, right? What are the one thing that you wish to do to change people's misconception on hemp? I mean, perhaps maybe something that everyone here, the audience also can do in their own capacity to educate their own communities out there. Yeah, maybe we can start with Encik Johan. Yeah, what are the one thing you wish to do to address the misconception that people have on hemp industry?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for the question. Of course, we already started from the beginning on promoting sustainability. So we produce 60% of the fiber out there, the tanja, and most of the fiber are locally produced. We bring in the fiber from Nepal and we produce it locally with we want to learn what is the whole process. So we managed to do it halfway, 60% in Malaysia, and we have our team in Indonesia on the final production. So that particular activity is already a way of encouraging us to wear something which is safer, and learn. I think in the industrial hemp, we try to help the stigma of ganja in Malaysia by promoting this sector. So this is also a way of us, how we actually educate the Malaysian citizen. Yeah, thank you.
Through promoting sustainability. Yeah. What about Dato Nizar? Yeah.
Hello. Okay. The question was, what would be the one thing I would want to do to
Change the
stigma?
yeah, the stigma that we have.
I would like to call upon everyone. Kalau tanya I lah, let's not refer this matter as cannabis. Sebab cannabis ni, in a Malaysian context, sebut cannabis najis dadah, right? You sebut the word cannabis, you sebut the word marijuana, najis dadah. Alright? So let's get a bit more scientific. Let us all start referring, kalau for medicinal lah, let us start referring to the matter as CBD THC. Kan bunyi lain tu. It's the same thing. Bunyi lain. Bunyi baik sikit. Betul. The moment you sebut, I mean, learned people like Cik Johan, Prof Aris, and members of the audience, you guys are learned people. Sebut cannabis, you can differentiate. CBD also comes from cannabis, THC kan. Betul lah. But general public, you sebut the word cannabis, you sebut the word marijuana, that's it. You have lost the attention at the word cannabis. Tak sempat you nak elaborate lagi dah. You sebut je cannabis, tak ada benda lain ni. Tak ada cerita lain. Habis-habis ganja. So if I would call upon all our friends here, if we are going to move forward with this, cari jalan, find a way that we don't have to use. I know it is the name. It's cannabis is a scientific name of the plant. I know, it's a given thing, all right? But in the Malaysian context, in our war against dada, we have labeled dia sebagai najis dada for the past 60 years. To going around it. Let's refer it on a technical view, CBD. I mean, I know I'm not saying I'm right, but that would be my suggestion, alright? Because you see, bila I pergi UK, masuk dalam kilang kan, tak ada seorang pun sebut nama cannabis tu. Bila I bincang dengan masalah-masalah tu kan, dia tak pakai the word cannabis lah. They straight away THC, CBD. They straight away refer to the actual compound, the actual scientific compound, which is the active compounds. So I think, in a way, it does help. And kalau you pergi masuk dalam this medicinal cannabis ni, you pergi in UK, it's available on the shelf on all pharmacy. It is already without prescription. You can just masuk into Boots. Boots one of the largest chain kan. You can walk into Boots and just take it off shelf. You want how many percent concentration? You choose. Tak payah buat prescription apa. Alright? But not one bottle I realize has the word cannabis on it. Tak ada. They just refer it CBD, THC. So maybe that would be one way effective move forward. Because we are talking about stigma. Stigma which we created. Tak salah. We created the stigma for the right reasons. We were fighting it was badly abused then. Right? I tak blame authorities for using the word najis dada. Dada is najis. Alright. Cuma when it comes to this, tersebut kalau we go into a forum or into a crowd trying to promote medicinal cannabis, you lost them at the cannabis. You probably half the audience at the word cannabis. Cuba terus on a technical view, CBD, THC, kau bunyi pandai sikit tu. Kau nak bunyi pandai lagi sebut apa? CBD, cannabidiol something, right? THC apa tetra, bunyilah pandai sikit kan. I mean, that's what benda when you're talking about getting rid of stigma. It's a very psychological thing, right? And we must acknowledge where the stigma comes from. If you ask me, the stigma comes from the word najis dada. Najis. Dada. Ganja. Cannabis. So if we're going to move forward, let us be more scientific about it. It is very scientific. Look at the instrument. I don't even know how to use that. Only my staff does. Right? I ada mampu tengok nak beli pun mahal sangat. So the point is, it is scientific. Alright? Maybe your next forum kan, cannabidiol, tetra, you know. No, not cannabis. I mean, forgive me, I'm wrong. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess we need to get the fact right. As in like cannabis is not equal to hemp and stuff. So we need to get the definition right first. As in like we go back to the basic lah. You need to understand what it is hemp, what is cannabis first before you jump into the conclusion. Right. So for Dr. Aris, what about you?
Okay, I'm an academician, so my role would be more on to make sure that students understand what is the differences between drugs that are available in Malaysia. So because I'm teaching medical and also health sciences student, there's a small part in central nervous system that we call it a cannabinoid system. It's where the active compound of the cannabis will act on that particular receptors. So normally, what we of course, the student need to understand what are the type of receptors, CB1, CB2, and what are the agonists that can act on that receptor. Is there an antagonist, etc., etc. Surprisingly, there are few students also keep asking me why somehow we have system in our body called the cannabis system, but out there when we're talking about cannabis, it's always related to najis. So how it happened? So even the student now, they become more creative in a way that they're more critical. Yes, it's a stigma. Of course, as a student, when they become a medical doctor, a scientist, actually it's their role actually to really embark on the educations of the public. And at the same time also involved with IRDP, where we have a program to really share with school children the type of drugs and what are the drugs that misused by most of the school children in Malaysia. And they're not cannabis actually, it's a different form of drugs. So by having understanding of drug itself, and then somehow they will have more knowledge and enlighten their thoughts. So it is very important. Yes, educations. Don't put it on the carpet. This is something that the children, the students at the school, university, they need to understand why it's a drug. And of course, when you're talking about the drug, it's always negative, positive effects, right? So if you misuse that, yes, it's a negative. In medical conditions, yes, we need drug to treat certain disease, right? So we need to really make sure that they really understand what is the drug for actually. For even as simple as caffeine is a drug. If you are smokers, nicotine is a drug, right? So why you allow this? And then students are very creative. They're asking us, why the government allows certain things? Why not that? So of course, as an academician, we are not saying that, yes, but you need to look on the law, but why? There are many factors that contribute on that scenario, right? So because nowadays, luckily we don't have any problems, cannabis usage in the campus. Of course, being students, they're very creative, right? It's just that as academicians, the role of academicians to make sure that their understanding is correct, right? So if they get the wrong informations, then where the problem will start. Right? Of course, there's a role of academician and also public domain to involve in education of the children. Definitely, that's a very important thing.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Johan.
It's about the interpretation. Okay, the first year in 2012, 2013, I remember that was the first year when Colorado legalized recreational marijuana. I think since then, the whole industry has changed the way to interpret industrial hemp, medical cannabis. So if you do your study now in Australia mostly, they don't use the word medical marijuana, which was used back in 2012, 2013. And many publications now references, especially New Zealand and Australia, and very well established country that wanted to change the medical system into putting cannabinoids into the medical system. They have actually changed the way they interpret it. So CBD is called as cannabinoid, and I think people are given good education in terms of understanding the endocannabinoid system in the body, and that's how the existing post-pandemic reflects the human body for immune, and why and how cannabinoid can support the human body. And yeah, thank you for that change of the name, Dato. Meaning the interpretation has been happening in the world. If you read, there is no more medical marijuana. When it's written medical cannabis, it's actually referring to the higher THC cannabis. And when they're talking about CBD, they're talking about the lower THC, because in the CBD sector, there is 3 different sector. I think there is full spectrum, broad spectrum, and isolate. So that is a different lesson to know. It's not even the medical marijuana or medical cannabis industry. Thank you.
Yeah, so I can conclude that the interpretation is very important, and also the understanding of the definition of CBD and how to differentiate it with other substance. Yeah, so before we go for lunch, I would like to open the floor to any questions from the audience. Perhaps, yeah, you can just go straight to the mic. Yes, you can just go straight and line up on the mic to ask your questions. Thank you. Yeah, maybe the secretariat can help turning on the mic. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Saya Puan Nur Laila, isteri pada Dr. Rusdan, seorang pencen guru dan saya mengajar di sekolah menengah SMK Jinjang selama lebih kurang 19 tahun. Okey, tentang hemp dengan CBD, saya nak straight to the point, kita tak perlu pun tanam pokok hemp. Seperti mana kita dulu, mak saya dulu pernah tanam pokok rambutan. Lepas tu ramai orang tanam pokok rambutan, harga buah rambutan jatuh. Tanam pokok getah. Mak saya potong pokok getah, tanam rambutan, tanam pokok getah. Getah naik harga, semua orang tanam pokok getah. Sekarang semua orang tanam pokok durian. Sampai Sultan pun tak tahulah betul ke tak. Jangan, kalau Sultan tahu saya kena tangkap kan. Saya tak tahulah, penduduk-penduduk kata ni Sultan punya, ni Sultan punya. Semua tempat nak tanam pokok durian. Mungkin nenas pun nak diganti pokok durian. Kemudian durian harga jatuh. Sekarang hemp. Semua orang nak tanam pokok hemp. Bila harga hemp jatuh, apa berlaku? Anak-anak kita memang kreatif. Anak Melayu ni memang kreatif. Satu helai pun macam-macam dia boleh buat. Ketum pun dah boleh jadi satu minuman yang memabukkan kan. Kalau kita rebus-rebus biasa tak ada. Jadi di sini maksudnya kita boleh jadi negara Europe. Tak perlu nak tanam seperti Thailand. Biarlah dia orang mabuk sama rakyat dia orang. Kita tak kisah pun kan. Rakyat kita tak nak tanam dan kemudian jatuh harga, anak-anak kita lah pergi kutip makan. Okey, sebagai penutup, diamond tak akan ada value 1 sen pun kalau industri diamond tak kawal pengeluaran diamond. Jadi kita tak nak negara kita ni sebagai negara yang rakyat dia rosak akhlak kerana salah guna hemp.
Yeah.
Jadi kalau nak legalize boleh. Tapi kita sebagai import, kita proses, produce. Dan kita Malaysia boleh jadi seperti Britain. Kita pengeluar hasil CBD. Itu je, sekian, terima kasih.
Alright, okay. So dia more to a statement lah, cadangan lah. Mungkin ada any panel yang would like to echo that? Ya, Encik Johan.
Ya, terima kasih. Biasa dengan apa ni, against tanaman lah. Maknanya sebenarnya seperti saya maklum awal tadi, yang cannabis itu sebenarnya kalau dia dilihat sebagai satu bentuk herbal perubatan, masa depan herbal perubatan cannabinoid itu memerlukan spesies yang berbeza untuk manusia yang berbeza. Itu sebenarnya cerita kenapa tanaman itu tadi. Dan perbandingan kalau kita buat dengan rambutan dan lain-lain jenis crop, kita tidak bercerita tentang solusi masa depan. Apabila kita bercerita tentang industrial hemp, kita bercerita tentang solusi masa depan. Kita nak baju yang boleh pakai sampai bertahun-tahun. Kalau baju hemp, kalau kita rendam dia di air, dia akan jadi lebih kuat. Kata kajian, ada teori itu menyatakan yang tali sauh kapal itu menggunakan hemp disebabkan oleh apabila air itu masuk ke dasar laut, kain itu tali itu menjadi semakin kuat dan kekuatan kain itu, tali itu boleh menjadi lebih kuat daripada besi. Saya pun asalnya ramai orang gelakkan, ada satu posting tentang itu. Saya pun hampir tergelak dengan kenyataan yang katakan lebih kuat daripada besi. Apabila kita baca teori itu, dia adalah benar. Kekuatan itu, dia bukan jadi besi. Kekuatan dia, strength dia. So di sini boleh, kalau boleh izinkan saya respon. Sebenarnya ini adalah berkaitan dengan solusi masa depan. Kalau kita cerita pasal makanan, semasa saya di Estonia, pengeluar Europe hemp terbesar di Eropah, mereka makan hari-hari, makanan mereka pasta dan benda-benda tepung semua ditukar kepada hemp, iaitu daripada biji. Dan paling menarik dekat sini, cikgu tadi maklumkan yang hemp ini boleh di-abuse. Sebenarnya tidak ada artikel di mana-mana di dunia yang kita nak rujuk hemp ini boleh di-abuse. Sebab hemp ini adalah jelas di bawah panduan, garisan panduan United Nations seperti Director Dr. Tuan Chai maklum pagi tadi, sudah dikategorikan sebagai tidak memabukkan, dan sebenarnya kesimpulan dia, hemp itu tidak boleh di-abuse. Itu satu perkara yang sangat penting. Bukan saya nak against, tapi ini sangat penting untuk kita tahu yang hemp ini memang tidak boleh abuse, manakala spesies yang satu lagi boleh di-abuse. Sebab itu saya mungkin boleh kongsi ekstra dekat sini. Climate kita memang tidak boleh terima pokok ni sebab dia terlalu panas. Tetapi dia boleh dengan teknologi moden dan pertanian yang ada sekarang. Kami beberapa kali melawat di Chiang Mai, yang petani itu bertanam CBD-nya untuk kerajaan, gambar pagi tadi oleh Pak Ikmil, yang mana dia membelanjakan setiap tahun 3 kali biji benih daripada USA, dan pokoknya penguatkuasa tak payah nak tengok langsung. Sebab pokok dia memang tak akan keluarkan apa-apa 0.2 lebih THC, dan pokok dia tidak akan menghasilkan apa-apa yang boleh mengabusekan. Bunga hemp, untuk pengetahuan, digunakan di Geneva dan di Sweden, di rak-rak rokok mereka, digunakan untuk mereka yang ketagih tembakau. Kalau boleh saya sambut bahasa tadi, tembakau lah yang sepatutnya kita risaukan sekiranya dia memberi efek abuse tadi. Sebab di dalam laporan kesihatan dunia, bukan saya pilih di mana-mana, report itu menyatakan tembakau ini telah membawa satu bahaya. Bermakna sekiranya rokok tembakau itu dengan perkataan dan imej yang menakutkan membahayakan kesihatan, saya boleh respon di sini yang hemp itu menyihatkan kesihatan. Bermakna sekiranya kita di zaman 2050, mungkin kita akan faham kenapa hemp itu menyihatkan kesihatan. Bermakna rokok tembakau itu perlu ditukar kepada rokok yang menyihatkan kesihatan, iaitu menghentikan ketagihan tembakau. So saya bercakap dalam konteks kajian. Terima kasih. Saya nak respon je. Terima kasih.
Oh ya, okay, Dr. Aris.
Okey, terima kasih atas soalan tersebut, dan saya faham kerisauan di kalangan kata warga di Malaysia ni lah. Dan mungkin kita perlu faham bahawa apabila kita sebut hemp ni, kita masih ada lagi kata different interpretation antara individu. Mungkin saya lebih suka guna kataan CBD lah, orang katakan lebih diol rather than the hemp itself. Sebab bila kita spesifik guna kataan kata CBD ni, kita tahu scientifically CBD is non-psychoactive. And then dia adalah dan tak ketagih pun dengan CBD. There is no story mengatakan bahawa ada pesakit yang ketagih sebagai oleh CBD. Tak ada. And dia memang tak non-psychotic, memang tak akan menjadikan high pun. There's no point you ambil CBD untuk you high. Memang takkan high pun. Except you ambil THC lah. THC for certain doses ataupun level memang menyebabkan high. So sekarang ni apa yang saya nampak, because this plant dia punya cycle adalah pendek. For few months kita boleh harvest. Cycle pendek, bukannya tanam bertahun-tahun untuk ada hasil. It's a short cycle. Jadi katalah kalau through R&D we found that this CBD beneficial for certain disease, then what is the way forward? Are we going to keep importing this CBD from other country, or should we produce our own CBD, which is more economical? Because cost untuk mengimport ubat adalah sangat-sangat mahal, very expensive. So if we can produce locally, why not? Contoh adalah CBD lah, sebab kita tahu dia tidak psikoaktif dan bersama dia tidak menyebabkan ketagihan. Dan as a scientist, I always believe that if that chemical or compound proven safe with beneficial effect, why we should stop there? Right now, of course, saya percaya kalau dibenarkan untuk penanaman, definitely kita ada peraturan yang ketat lah supaya tiada unsur-unsur misuse dan sebagainya. Dan pada masa sama, the UPM also we try to, jika dibenarkan, to come out with a variety of cannabis sativa that can produce almost 100% CBD, bukannya THC. That's our intention actually. Right? Thank you.
Yeah.
If I may,
Okay, boleh.
okay, Puan, thank you so much for the question. I think what Cik Johan is saying is correct, and Prof Aris is saying is correct. But at the same time, I think what Cikgu, I can't remember, sorry. Excuse me. Apa cikgu cakap pun betul juga. Okay. We are not ready yet. I think we should, and I think we are. All right. We are doing this in phases. Fasa. Fasa pertama, I think we are going to concentrate on imports of finished products, because the fiat abused yang macam cikgu cakap tadi tu, it's not wrong. The fiat abuse. Kita ni duduk sembang atas ni sembang syok. Betul. Tapi apa cikgu cakap betul-betul. Budak-budak kita ni, motor Honda tu boleh tak betul lagi. Betul? Engineer Honda tu tak cukup pandai lagi. Engineer kampung lagi tera. Okay, so saya faham apa maksud puan. Okay, so saya rasa pihak berkuasa juga, pihak berwajib juga faham sensitivity ini. So dalam membendung benda ni, saya rasa I think we should, and we are putting this in phases. Pada peringkat awal, kemungkinan besar kalaulah perkara ni dia akan legalize, kita akan legalize bukan pokok. Kita akan legalize compound. Betul. Kita akan legalize the specific compound. Bukan pokok. Bukan pokok cannabis, bukan pokok hemp. Kita kita akan legalize the compound dulu. The actual medicinal compound, the CBD, THC dulu kita. Then benda ni bila kita dah legalize, dan kita boleh bagi import licenses, specific import licenses. Macam what I'm doing, I'm applying for research import license, a very specific. Macam Hemplab, we are applying for research import license, bukan general import license yet. Belum. Alright? Itu pun susah dah. Itu pun nak teriak dah ni. Bukan senang punya kerja lah. So the point is, at the moment, because kalau kita nak tunggu the full framework ready untuk terima boleh tanam, boleh cultivate semua, baru bila kita nak produce, rugilah rakyat Malaysia tak dapat pakai. Right? So while we wait for our system to mature and accept the full cycle lah, daripada cultivation sampai production. So in meantime, kita akan most probably import dulu. Import finished products from reputable manufacturers only. No backyard industries. Sebab benda ni bahaya. There are countries, I will not mention which one, they have gone on the wrong path. It is so open, the production of CBD oil becomes a backyard industry. Ada kutu boleh buat tanah 10 ekar, petang-petang pergi petik bunga, pergi rebus bunga, esok buat belakang rumah. Okay? Tak salah. But scientifically, how do you prove this is CBD? Concentration berapa, percentage berapa? So kalau nak guna, katalah for example, I'm as importer, I pergi beli from such backyard industry, producer of CBD oil. Lepas tu pergi hantar ke Prof Aris buat research. Memang nak kena lempang lah. Memang nak kena, betul Prof Aris datang pergi bawa dia punya mikroskop semua. Dato, you nak tipu I lah. Betul tak? So as kita kena jaga our reputation. So very likely we will bagi license untuk import from reputable manufacturers from the reputable countries. Because ada bila you open, macam vape lah. Duduk kat rumah bola baldi baca bola kau tak jual. So how do you encounter this? Macam apa cikgu cakap tu betul. The right model should be Britain. Because Britain has only issued 20 manufacturing license. Seluruh sebesar-besar negara Britain tu. Only 20 factories. Only big pharmacies given license to manufacture. That's why their CBD products is world renowned. Anything coming from UK is tak payah tengok lah. So whatever brand that you see in UK, you pergi kat Boots tu, ada beratus brand kan. Comes from only these 20 factories. Right. So quality is assured. So kita jadi user dulu. I agree with cikgu. Kita jadi user dulu. Jangan jadi rakyat kita rugi tak pakai pula. Alright. Once kita dah pakai user, as importer mahal, betul. I agree with Prof Aris cakap, memang mahal. Mahal merepek benda ni. To share, CBD bukan THC. CBD with less than 0.2% THC concentration at 40% concentration is about 1000 sebotol 10 ml. 10 ml besar ibu jari.
Yeah.
RM1000 sebotol. Itu jual dekat UK. That's how expensive it is. So imagine kalau kita masuk sini nak import duty lah apa lah.
Yeah.
Oh,
betul.
I can imagine lah. RM2-3,000 sebotol lah. Mahal memang benda. It's in its purest form. It's purest form lah, mahal.
Yeah.
Right? So kalau untuk kegunaan rakyat jelata, sakit jugalah. Alright? So which comes to the next phase. Fasa kedua, apa yang Prof Aris cakap, apa yang Cik Johan cakap. We need to end up cultivate juga, kena cultivate. Because that's the only way to produce this cheaply. Tapi understand, sekarang for fasa 1, untuk get rid of the stigma first. Kita cuba import dulu.
So it's one step at a time lah.
One step at a time, right?
Betul. So we start with kita import dulu, and then once we have a proper regulations and also provisions, we go with the cultivation.
People dah comfortable kan.
Yes.
Orang dah tahu tak boleh abuse. Macam Prof cakap, sebotol CBD tu yang RM1000 tu, you minum sebotol pun tak mabuk. Which I did.
Okay.
Tak ada apa pun. Alright. It's super good. Lepas tu cuma tak kurus lah, gemuk je juga lah. Kalau boleh kurus saya minum banyak lagi.
Alright, okay. Okay, yeah. Maybe we can take one more soalan, questions.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Farhan and I'm a lawyer by profession, and I handle the case of one of my clients in 2018, the case of cannabis oil. Okay, my question is more to Dato, with regards to legal frameworks. Okay, Dato, you mentioned about Thailand and you mentioned about UK frameworks, legal frameworks. Okay, from my readings, there are differences between UK frameworks and Thailand frameworks. In UK, cannabis is still illegal. They haven't yet legalized cannabis in total. But the illegality to the extent of the THC, the content of the THC in a particular product. While in Thailand, they have legalized in totality, means that they have legalized THC as well. And in Malaysia, THC, as defined under Section 12, Subsection 2 of the Dangerous Drugs Act, and under the Jadwal 1 of the same Act, states that it defines a particular plant that is cannabis, from the species cannabis. Dan juga Dato, when you are presented with hemp and cannabis, the mere difference between these two plants is THC. As in the case of Captain Amiruddin, Dr. Ganja, the plant cannot be declared as cannabis because the chemist cannot find traces of THC in a particular plant. Okay. I believe that the stigma here is, Dato, is that our confusion to actually adopt what is hemp and our ignorance because of stigma that we cannot adhere to the recent legalization. And our own case in Malaysia has become the cornerstone that actually promote cannabis taken out from the list. Okay, Dato. My question, Dato. The differences between UK framework and Thailand framework. And we have to adopt Israel legal framework. In Israel, they have their own, the Ministry of Health in Israel, they have the Department of Cannabis.
Yeah.
Okay.
The question, please. Sorry, because of the time constraint.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have
Thank
lots.
you. Oh, okay.
I have a lot. I have some. Okay. And the number one, the stigma, yeah, the stigma because the public paradox and lack of understanding with regards to cannabis has seeded ignorance to seek new information such as the difference between hemp and cannabis, that's number one. Although they look apart, but the determining factor is the content of THC. Dangerous Drugs Act, Dato. It was adopted from international treaty, and the same authority that has maintained cannabis in the list has put the cannabis into the list, maintained the cannabis into the list, but at the time, the same authority was taken cannabis out of the list. And somehow, Malaysia, we stood up. We didn't follow. And say if I'm in international water, I have a container of cannabis. They cannot arrest me because it's not an offense. But in Malaysia, I can be arrested with a small possession. Okay, Dato. My question here is, in this regard, is the stigma has stopped us from developing our knowledge into cannabis? And lastly, we have to define medicinal cannabis and industrial cannabis. I mean that hemp, it can be used in both medicinal and industrial. Dia boleh buat jadi semen, dia boleh buat jadi baju, and even in Israeli military forces, they use hemp as their uniform. Okay. Last kali, Dato. This is just a statement. Why Malaysian government has to go to war into everything? We take Ketum. I'm from Johor, I don't know about Ketum. But because post 2015, after the media and everyone else has talked about Ketum, now we can find the Ketum in every corner of city. And why are we going to war against a plant for 50 years without anyone winning the war? And I believe that should we have this positivity to look into the goodness of everything else, I believe that we can see goodness in just a plant. It's still a plant. Nothing to be afraid of a plant. And the only drug listed under Jadual 1 of the Dangerous Drugs Act that has zero kematian daripada overdose. The only
Yeah.
drugs. That is something that we are very, very, very afraid of. Just a
Sure.
plant.
Thank you,
Thank
Encik
you.
Farhan, for the question. Mungkin within 1 or 2 minutes, we can Dato can answer. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cik Farhan, for the question. Wonderful. So, seronok tengok lawyer muda. Aku tua dah. Pencen dah pun. So anyway, to address your question, sebenarnya what I've been saying earlier, all right? The war is not against a plant. The war is against our stigma. A stigma that which we created. We created. Because yes, back in the 70s, right? And or even early 80s, a lot of our Malay youngsters especially was wasted. Not by anything else but by ganja. Alright? But agreed, mana ada orang mati overdose ganja? Tak ada pun. But ganja was the platform zaman tu to start into drug abuse. Ganja admittedly dia macam rokok je sebenarnya. It's just a plant. Macam tembakau, ganja, after you smoke continuously, dia jadi rokok, dah tak mabuk dah. That's where the danger is. You advance itu artificial substance. So ganja was the platform untuk start dulu, right? Nowadays, I rasa budak-budak tak isap ganja dah rasanya. Ais je terus je ni. So any point, what Cik Farhan is saying is true, very very true. Cannabis, as we said, still under Jadual 1, Jadual DDA, right? But there's a big but, right? Now let's get technical. CBD as a compound is already registered under our National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Authority. It's a registered compound. So it is dia ada sebab Cik Farhan kenapa kita tak open. Benda ni betul you kata kita tak sama dengan Thailand and UK framework. UK only allows this industry to become a real industry, a real pharmaceutical industry. That's why dia tak promote cultivation sangat. Dia UK punya sistem tak legalize recreational marijuana, tak. You tak boleh duduk tepi jalan isap ganja kat tepi jalan kat UK, kena tangkap. Tapi kat Switzerland boleh. So you see, nampak tak? Let's talk Europe. Thailand of course lah, Thailand semua orang tahu lah. You nak mabuk tepi jalan pun suka hati you lah. In Europe punya senario, in Switzerland, in Germany, Netherlands, Poland, you boleh ambil ganja, you start tepi jalan. UK you buat tengok nak masuk dalam lah. So UK only legalize the substance, the compound, not the plant. The plant still control. Besok macam cikgu cakap, plant ni kalau dah sikit macam mana, kalau dah banyak, kan, dah banyak, and then buah kampung-kampung, budak-budak boleh abuse. Bagi kat budak-budak apa boleh abuse. Ketum yang innocent macam Cik Farhan cakap, ketum yang innocent tu bagi kat budak-budak, boleh campur ubat gegat. Right. So, understand, I understand where cikgu is coming from, I understand where Cik Farhan is coming from. Alright? We want to legalize, but we want to avoid abuse. So what we can do is look at the British framework, which we make sure this is legalized in a very industrial manner, not a backyard industry. Everybody can put a pot of plant depan rumah. All right, thank you so much.
Legalize in an industrial manner.
Yes, it's a very
Correct.
industrial framework. So bila you create macam ni, orang yang baru buka kilang semalam ada modal RM100,000, buka small factory kat belakang rumah, tak boleh buat mendatang ni.
Yeah.
Jadi mahal.
Yeah.
It's too expensive. So you make sure the industry remains a real industry because it is open to abuse and often bukan saja abuse dalam bentuk abuse by the children, it is also abused by open to abuse by the industrial player. Abuse like how? Cheating you on the content. I give you a bottle of CBD oil. You don't know. If I tell you, I jual you just MCT oil, minyak kelapa kan? MCT oil, I declare to you CBD oil. You tahu. Kalau bagi Prof Aris memang dia tahu lah. I bagi kat you tak tahu. I jual RM2,000. Yang dia kata apa? So that's the industry is so lucrative. And it is so lucrative, therefore it is open to abuse, even industrial. Right? So we have to regulate this properly. Thank you so much, Athirah.
I can see that Dato Nizar has a lot more to say, and perhaps maybe Encik Farhan, if you have any more questions, you can just straight to Dato Nizar after the session. All right. So after listening to the insights, valuable insights for our panels, today, we can conclude that hemp or CBD is more than just a cannabis or just a najis dadah. And it can be our new source of economic growth, of course, with proper regulations and also provisions. So with that wraps up our forum discussion for today, for this afternoon. I would like to thank the organizer, MHIRA, and program partners for going to the moon and back to make sure that this platform, this conference happens. And to our distinguished panels, up here, Encik Johan, Dr. Aris, Dato Nizar, thank you for gracing us with valuable insights for this particular topic. We really hope this will actually set the tone for a more healthier discussion, a more open discussion on this particular topic regarding the hemp industry in Malaysia. So with that, thank you so much and enjoy your lunch, ladies and gentlemen. I'll pass the floor to our MC today. Thank you.
Warm of applause for our moderator and panel speakers. Thank you, Ms. Athirah, and our distinguished panel of speakers for the brilliant insights and addressing questions.